So we are going to talk about Argentina and Javier Milei and the powers that he is gaining, because he's going on an OP mode. That means overpowered. So one thing to say is that when we're talking about Argentina, we're not talking about the US, the UK, or a country in the EU. We're talking about a very specific setting. And I say this because a lot of people who are commenting on Argentina or replying to comments I have made or some of my colleagues have made, they literally talk as if Argentina has the exact same problems with the UK or the US or the EU. These are not the same things. You could say that to a degree they are similar problems, but the degree in which these problems are causing trouble in Argentina is vastly different.
So just for me to summarize my limited knowledge on this, South America has just been broadly racked by socialism for generations now, and Milei is a response to that.
Yes, so basically Argentina suffers from more than 3 decades of terrible economic mismanagement, from statist policies and you could say a very mistaken idea of what inflation is. Because literally, if you look at Argentina and its economy for the last decades, literally the people who have governed Argentina think that you can have money trees printing money and everything is going to take care of itself.
Yeah.
Also, just to mention about Argentina, for anyone who doesn't know, I mean, going back a few decades now, but they were ruled by a succession of military juntas, military governments.
Yes.
And a type of, at least back in the 60s and 70s, a type of civil war. Where they were disappearing each other all over the place.
Yes.
To the tunes of thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah.
You know, actual sort of dungeons and things, torture chambers and all sorts of things, people being thrown out of helicopters. That's where that meme comes from. Yeah. So they've had a lot of instability, and then, some leftist stuff thrown on top of that, which will never help, and so on and so on.
Yes, exactly. And right now, I think they are facing the worst economic crisis of the last 20 years. So it is a sort of national emergency for Argentina. So
they were having an inflation crisis, weren't they?
The yearly inflation rate is around 300%.
Jesus.
And we will talk a lot about this because we are going to talk about how he's constantly misrepresented and why the people who are opposing themselves to Milei's policies and the politicians of Argentina who are echoing their concerns, they bet wrong, and Milei has won his first major legislative victory. But one thing to say is that he is literally slashing down the departments that he said that he was going to slash down.
Afuera.
Yeah, you love to see it, don't you?
Yeah, so apparently this isn't news to people in Argentina. This is not something new, but those outside Argentina need to hear this. This is from Guardian, and you see, it says Argentina's far-right president poised to shut down anti-gender violence agency.
Just communist. Communist.
Again, you see, they talk about it. Yeah. They talk about him as being far-right. Sure. Women at risk amid an increasing number of femicides, but assistance, including emergency helpline, will be cut. Now, this is interesting because it shows vastly different approaches to crime. So one of the major causes of crime is poverty. So literally the person who is trying to do something with Argentinian poverty is Milei. But apparently the Guardian has a problem with this. Now, just an interesting
one
thing.
One of the problems that's racked all of South America is soft approaches towards criminals, which is one of the things that Bolsonaro was strong on.
Bukele.
Yeah, and Bukele, exactly. I'm sure the same sort of thing is going to be the consequence of leftism in South America, in Argentina as well. Yes. So, the criminal's really the victim of society. It's like, is he really?
And here, last paragraph, they say the libertarian president is openly anti-feminist and has
I really liked him. You'd have to sell him to me.
Yeah, but I think there's a pattern of mainstream media who are routinely referring to politicians they despise as far-right on the title, and then towards the end, where almost no one is going to read, they just throw different adjectives. So what happened here? Last Wednesday, Milei had his first legislative victory. And this may sound a bit counterintuitive because people know that he won an election, but he doesn't have majority in the Congress.
Okay.
So that was the major problem, that the coalition party that he governs, and his major party is the La Libertad Avanza, doesn't have the majority in Congress. So what happened there was the following. Milei comes along and he says, I'm going to do something about the disastrous policies that are ruining Argentina for decades. Mm-hmm. Now, the main beneficiaries of these policies and the politicians who have presided over them, they know really well, and everyone knows that the free market reforms that Milei is advancing yield benefits to the mid to long term. Yeah. So what they wanted to do was to basically stall as much as possible to prolong those terms so that Milei would lose his popularity. Yeah. But the thing is that Milei is taming inflation, and he's also showing the political will that he wants to actually clash with this corrupt system of clientelism, and actually backfired on them, because he doesn't lose his popularity. He is taming inflation. He is cutting government spending, and suddenly you see that people in the Argentinian Congress had the tie when they were debating the reforms he's proposing, and then the vice president, who has the extra vote in the Argentinian Congress, voted in favor of Milei's package.
Right, okay.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Just a couple of quick things. So if their inflation was running at 300%
yearly,
I mean, right, but then you're not that far away from sort of having to print $1,000 bills and things like that. That's insane. 300% is absolutely insane. Your economy is absolutely broken at that point. But it's interesting to note that Argentina's got a system a bit more like America rather than Britain, where the executive is completely separate to the legislature.
Yeah.
So we don't have that, do we? Our prime minister, the head of state, the head of government, is in the legislature.
Yeah.
So it sounds like he is what Americans would call a lame duck president. Yeah. He's president, he's head of the executive, but he's a quote unquote lame duck because he doesn't control the Congress.
Yes, but in this
which is unfortunate, really, if you really want to just force stuff through.
In this case, though, this is a very interesting case, because it seems to be working.
Okay.
Because what happens is that the idea is that when you have all these people who are in favor of Milei, and he has massive popularity ratings, they sort of got the message that they cannot literally create obstacles to him, because his
next election they're going to get voted out.
His popularity is going to raise, and in fact, they are going to be charged with the negative, let's say, effects of what Milei is trying to do right now. All the short-term effects that would be charged on Milei if they did nothing are going to be charged on them, because they literally show everyone that they are stalling and they are prolonging the period.
So is he very popular amongst the average Argentine?
He's unbelievably popular.
Really? Right, okay.
Yeah.
Did you not see him travelling on an airplane?
I knew he was popular, I just didn't know the degree to which...
The entire airplane was just cheering him.
Really?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was like, okay,
he's also like a rock star there. He literally walks on stages dancing in funny moves. It's like Osho from sometimes.
Well, he's got big hair and sideburns. Yeah, I mean, come on.
There was a song he was singing like, I'm the king, I will destroy you, and everyone went mad.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that energy.
So what is interesting here, though, is that he is gaining extra powers. The legislation is delegating to him broad powers in several sectors, like energy, pension, security, and other areas. Because basically what they're doing, they're declaring Argentina to be in a sort of situation of national emergency, and they voted to give him to delegate to him extra powers.
They need a strong executive to just cut through all of these layers of problems.
Yes. Now, this hasn't gone without any kind of resistance, and that is why a lot of the politicians that Milei is trying to compromise with have introduced some reforms that could be seen as watering down his initial program, but I think that's a step towards the right direction. Now, this hasn't become law yet. It will go to the lower house of the Argentinian Congress, and there is where all the articles of the bills that are being debated will be debated individually, but everyone believes that this is going to pass and that this is going to be his major political victory. Now, a lot of people are protesting.
A lot of people are communists.
Yeah, so you see here we can play this without sound. I'll close the sound. You see there are massive protests, and they get violent from people who are protesting against the reforms. And
God, commies and lefties and Antifa are absolute filth, aren't they?
Yeah, they're the worst.
They just really are. Everywhere in the world, everywhere they crop up.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, sorry. No. They're literally out here violently protesting in favor of inflation. I mean, just
and Agorist Nexus says there,
300% inflation or death.
How dare you try and save your nation?
Yeah, how dare you save the economy?
Yeah, but that is the issue, though. When it comes with inflation, the main beneficiaries of printing money are those who are going to get it first, especially by the government. But the fact that they don't understand, and here is where there's a lot of plausibility in this criticism, is that inflation is an indirect tax.
Yeah, I mean, you're literally arguing we need more government.
Yeah.
Like, how dare you remove the government?
And you see here that civil disobedience is violent, and you see here public property being destroyed. Now, one of the there's nothing like the destruction of public property to show where people stand towards the common good.
Yeah, thanks for ruining the place we live in.
Yeah, and you see also here Amnesty International. They had to make a comment. They had to add the people who oppose Milei, who is the only person who shows that he has the political will to do something about the massive poverty that Argentina suffers from. And they say people...
Sorry. People in Argentina are protesting Milei's economic reforms. Authorities must respect the right to freedom of expression and peaceful assembly, and police found responsible of unlawful use of force must be held accountable. It's like they're literally throwing Molotovs at the cops and tearing up the street. And it's not just freedom of expression. They're not just like, hey guys, I'd like to voice a counter opinion to the current Milei reforms. No, they're ruining things. They're hurting people.
Yeah.
I need to be free to be able to destroy public property.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah, because that's how the public good is being promoted.
Yeah.
And it's funny, aren't the leftists always telling us that words are violence?
Yeah.
But actual violence isn't violence, though.
Actual violence is liberation.
Yeah. They just put an anti in front of everything. It's anti-violence. Yeah, so here we see them burning some bikes.
But the public... I see. That's really helping things?
That literally shows how they are going to cause damage that increases the amount of money that needs to be given to address it. So they're basically, essentially, it's the cult of massive public spending, increase public spending.
Isn't this an attack on the climate as well? Because surely they've got the bikes there to reduce the number of people driving cars, set the bikes on fire, then surely you've damaged the atmosphere.
Yeah, but
by their own logic.
It's anti-climate violence.
Yeah.
So here is what happened. We have the post that we can translate. And basically there were 35 in favor, 35 against. Some other accounts say 36 in favor, 36 against. And the vote of the vice president saved the day as far as Milei's camp is concerned. And they say here from La Derecha Diario, in particular, Title 1 of the base law is approved, which declares an emergency and grants delegated powers to the president, Javier Milei.
Good.
Yeah, so what is interesting here is that if you see, there are all sorts of people who are trying to cultivate an anti-Milei front, and they are literally using false information. They are actually purveyors of misinformation in order to harm Milei's image. And here we have Z Media official. Javier Milei's Argentina is in complete chaos. People are protesting his devastating policies, which are driving the people into unimaginable poverty and desperation. Inflation is at 300%. Population living in poverty reported to be as high as 50%. In response, he has declared the people terrorists and accused protesters of trying to perpetrate a coup. There's everything wrong with his tweet. So first of all, he was elected. Argentinians elected him to do precisely what he's doing right now. So he's not declaring the people terrorists. He's declaring a lot of people who are disrespecting the public vote to be, let's say, antisocial elements.
Literal communists.
Also, when she says inflation is at 300%, that's the yearly rate of inflation. So she's trying to charge Milei and blame Milei with inflation from what happened before Milei.
Yeah.
And she says population living in poverty reported to be as high as 50%. I think that this is roughly accurate.
Probably true, yeah.
Especially among young people, where it's supposed to be between 50 and 60%. And she's saying people are devastating his policies, which are driving the people into unimaginable poverty and desperation. This puts the cart before the horse. Argentina was already in unimaginable poverty and desperation, and that is why they voted for Milei.
Yeah.
So he's only been in office a few months, hasn't he?
Yeah.
It's only a few months, right?
Since December.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
But look at here, if we click on her, she says, share the truth at whatever cost. Expose them. Ephesians 5:11.
Commies have just got no problem with lying.
Well, I don't think that's
transparently.
Commie, though.
Well,
like
globalists then, whatever they are. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
But the people
I don't know who they are.
Yeah, I don't know who they are, but the people who follow them are people I know and know aren't communists. So that's weird.
So basically, she's misleading people massively, and she has on her, she's basically virtue signaling, because that's what virtue signaling is about. Because sadly, I think someone was saying that around 70% of people will believe just anything people say.
Yeah. Just believe the headlines.
Yeah,
that's why they
just unfortunately so gullible, and that's what people like her.
So why is this person lying so much? Well, what's the agenda? What would you think their agenda might be there to misrepresent truth so badly?
Basically, the agenda is ultra statist. So we have one president in the world that is very much, you could say, anti-statist right now, and people who have vested interests in promoting statism have also the interest to shatter his image. So now their bet was that Milei was going to have problems in the short run, and he was going to be blamed for them so much that his popularity was going to be decreased. But apparently this isn't happening. The message isn't convincing at all. And it's fun to see that The Guardian is also playing into it, and also Amnesty International are playing into the narrative. Let's not forget things like that. And here we also have Milei winning in the meme sphere. There are some really nice memes with Milei. So the declaration of memes here says, why can we get to Javier Milei in the US? And he says, the meme Milei face. He could definitely say something like that. If printing money would end poverty, printing diplomas would end stupidity.
Yes, I mean this.
Here we have the inflation rate, the monthly inflation rate. Mm-hmm. And Axel Kaiser says Milei brings the inflation rate down and prevents a hyperinflation that would have brought the poverty rate to 90%. I don't know exactly about the calculation, but the thing is, Milei is actually taming inflation, and he has brought it down to 4.2% in monthly inflation. And what a lot of people who are criticizing when they're talking about Argentina suffering from 300% inflation, they're talking about the yearly rate. Milei is actually curing inflation in Argentina.
Well, just to say, I mean, it needs to be under 0 to cure that 300.
Right.
You'd want deflation, wouldn't you, to start to actually deal with...
Reducing
but still,
the rate.
It's obviously still bringing it down, at least. I mean, that's obviously good.
Yes, I mean, the rate of its increase is... And here, I'll show you some funny clips from his fans, and we'll show here, because it's... he has also good energies, like you were talking before with politicians and Farage
and Trump.
You need good energy to popularity, because he actually has a vision for Argentina. And he is being criticized for the way in which he is pushing forward free market reforms. Now, I want to say that I don't think that free market reforms are a panacea, no matter how they are being pushed forward. But you see that, the people are with him. Yeah. They voted for him, and the plan to destroy his image is backfiring. So this is good news for Argentina. And just one last thing, which I think is absolutely representative of what is going on. We have this other meme here. Javier Milei saving Argentina from decades of socialism. It's up to you to break the generational trauma. And we have here a communist parent and a communist grandparent shouting to the kids, trying to indoctrinate them, and Milei holding a shield, trying to stop the brainwashing, saying, and the kids are saying, "I'm proud of you, I love you," and they have basically the flag of Argentina, because that's what communists are doing. They hate national identity because they think that national identity is what the bourgeois class is trying to use in order to destroy working class identity. And that's why they literally are pushing for the propaganda that anyone who is talking about national sovereignty, national interest is far right, because that is their agenda. They hate national identity and national consciousness. And what is really weird is to look at those parties that are allegedly center-right, basically advocating for communist propaganda.
Yeah, communism at its very heart, the soul of communism, is an international movement.
Yeah,
is that you have to let the international worker throw off the shackles of oppression from the capitalist.
Yes,
across the whole world.
Yes. That's the vision.
So, yeah.
And the tactics sometimes can come with socialism in one country, but that's the vision.
Right, yeah. It's interesting you mentioned about Milei that he's actually got a vision for Argentina. Yeah. It's funny, it always used to be the way, and I'm talking about sort of in the 20th century or earlier, that you wouldn't really be a politician unless you had bought into some sort of vision. It doesn't have to be your own personal one, but you would have a vision for the future going forward, a political view. And we live in a world where quite often you take someone like Starmer.
Keir Starmer's got a vision of a massive bureaucracy ordering the chaos.
Or someone like David Cameron, not necessarily really any sort of vision, just I want to be the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
And whatever I need to say in any given moment, I'll say. But I haven't got a vision for Britain or anything.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
They're going to cancel Kafka, who had bureaucratic nightmares. They say, no, this is bad. White man wrote it. Bureaucracy is good.
I hope you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, and if you want to see what other work we're doing, you can go onto our website and see Lads Hour, which is where we have a lot of fun, and if you want to see what else we're doing more generally, you can follow us on Twitter, where we post all of our links to the work we're putting out.